Jupiter Ascending 4K Blu-ray, reviewed by yours truly, unbiased and impartial. But the fact that my Hollywood wife Mila Kunis is in this, shit could get nasty. What's going on, people? It's your boy Brass Tax in this bitch, back with another review. Jupiter Ascending in 4K. How is it? What's it saying? What's going on? Before we get onto that, I want to talk about the movie a little bit. Channing Tatum in this bitch has come to Earth to find a chick named Jupiter. Wifey. She frustrated with her life. She living her normal day routine. She feels like she's destined for more. Aren't we all? She's got some extraordinary inheritance and shit in another world. She like a princess or some bullshit in this bitch. And Channing Tatum like a mercenary type dude trying to help her get back to where she needs to get to so she can inherit all that bullshit. And she can be in a rightful place where she is actually destined to be, because it's not on Earth. He's trying to help her. But meanwhile, there's people out there trying to stop the bitch. Do you know what I'm saying? The Wachowskis directed this movie. I was expecting great things from this movie, to be honest. And it kind of delivered in part. There's a lot of things in this movie I liked. The visual effects, in my opinion, looked A1. I loved the action sequences. I think the Wachowskis are very good at directing very iconic moments in movies. The first chase scene with Channing Tatum. God damn! That shit was amazing. Edge of your seat stuff, because I initially watched it in 3D and it was a very, very good 3D transfer. Very good. This movie had the potential to be great. The problem with this movie is that there's too many characters in the plot. All I will say is there's a lot of characters which are introduced, and I found myself wanting to know more about them. It's one of those movies that if I didn't know any better, I'd say it was deliberately made with a sequel in mind, because once it starts really getting interesting, it kind of stops. The movie ends. As soon as I'm ready, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen here? The credits in this bitch? Oh, hell no. And if there isn't a sequel, well, there's no sequel that I know of. It's a real shame, because the way the movie ended, it left a lot of plot holes. It didn't come to its conclusion with all of the characters, and it left a lot of things up in the air. You know, visual effects and everything looked great. Channing Tatum was decent in it. Miller was amazing. That girl can do no wrong, in my opinion. I don't give a shit. That girl just amazing. I ain't gonna fault her. She should have won 20 Oscars by now, baby. Other than that, I enjoyed it a lot more than people gave it credit for. It's worth checking out. Really good concept, really good idea of a story. Didn't quite execute it in the right way, in my opinion. But fuck all that. The 3D was good. The Blu-ray was good. What is the 4K saying in this bitch? Jupiter Ascending. Shot in 2.8K and 5K. Visual effects rendered at 2K. Digital intermediate 2K. Upscaled to 4K. Dolby Atmos sound. 1080p Blu-ray of this was very vibrant. I even felt then with the 1080p that, you know, some of the colors were really popping off the screen. It had a very nice color palette back then. I was expecting this to be actually quite a fantastic looking 4K presentation. First thing I noticed of this Blu-ray was it's dark as a motherfucker. I mean, the whole transfer's dark. Like dark, to the point that I thought maybe my television was dying in this bitch. A couple reviews back I said to you about Goodfellas being dark. This was darker than that bitch. God damn. Scenes shot in daylight and stuff actually looked dark as a motherfucker. It's not a bad transfer, don't get me wrong, but it's dark. It's dark. This is an improvement over the 1080p. It is, in terms of detail, in terms of sharpness. The implementation of depth in this movie is superb. Obviously, it's not going to match the 3D, but there's a really good depth in this bitch. Like, really good depth. Miller looks beautiful. She looks three-dimensional in this bitch. I'm sorry I keep going on about her, but it's Miller, alright? Just calm down. a lot of details in the background which you didn't really notice before. The HDR does a really good job with Channing Tatum glides in this bitch. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's got that effect trailing him. That shit really stands out. There's a lot of things that stand out. They don't necessarily pop off the screen as such. You can see how the HDR has added a lot more radiance to the colors. Black levels are really good. There's nice detail in the black levels. I think the Blu-ray had a little bit of crush. I had a message asking me what crush was. Crush is really, you know, when it's too dark and you can't make everything out clearly, you can't separate. Like say Miller's wearing like a low cut black dress, right? And underneath it she wearing a slightly less black bra, right? You can't separate the difference between the blacks. That's what crush is in this bitch. But there's different shades of black and what have you in the 4K, so you notice that. If she was in fact wearing a dress with a bra underneath that, you could perhaps see a little peek at. Do you know what I'm saying? Just an example. Especially when she's away from Earth, you see a lot of flowers and what have you, and the HDR really makes that stand out. The contrast level's very good with the HDR in parts. Some of the scenes you can tell are shot in 5K because there is a huge difference. Shit you definitely couldn't pick up in the 1080p. You can definitely notice a lot more textures and a lot more details. You'll be able to notice in this transfer which scenes are shot in 5K and which scenes aren't, based on the detail and textures. Overall, it's very sharp. It's got a nice level of detail to it. Black levels are very good. HDR, the wider color definitely makes its presence felt, and it's generally a very clean picture. There is noise, but it's very minimal. There is obviously some green screens in this movie. You can tell in certain scenes, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not going to ruin your experience. I think when it comes to 4K, you're going to be used to seeing shit like this. It's just the way it is. We can't do anything about it. Not unless they go back and they start re-rendering the shit, which they ain't going to do in this bitch. But overall, the visual effects are pretty decent. Now that being said, I've said really positive things about this Blu-ray, right? I totally understand why people may prefer the 3D or the 1080p Blu-ray, simply because it's a much more brighter, vibrant disc. This is a much darker disc overall, and I don't know why that is. I feel as though something may have gone wrong with the color grading, but then I say that and then I see some shots and it looks like they knew exactly what they were doing. So it's hard for me to tell you, but it is a dark disc. It's not about resolution, it's about picture quality. So I can understand if people say, well, the 1080p has better picture quality because it's just a much more brighter, vibrant image, even though it's not as detailed as the 4K version. So it's a bit of a coin toss. So I'd probably wait for it to drop down in price and then give it a try so it's not hitting your pocket too much. Which is a real shame. It could have been an easy choice, you know, but they fucked up on something there. Anyway, guys, hope you liked the review. Please like and subscribe. I love the comments and stuff. I read each and every one. I do try and respond to everyone. So, you know, keep the comments coming. If you guys have already got this disc, tell me what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know. All right, guys. You take care. I'll catch you next time.